There was a snake. There was a snake, right? There was a snake. There was a snake crawling on the ground, Sister Mary, and the snake was minding his business. The snake was crawling on the ground, and the snake crawled right on top of the knife, right? Crawled right on top of the knife. And when the snake crawled on top of the knife, the snake cut itself. So the snake was like, man, you cut me. So what the snake did was, the snake wrapped himself around the knife. The snake was going about his business, never thinking about anything, just slithering around. But once he cut himself on the knife, he was like, you cut me. So the snake wrapped himself around the knife and started squeezing the knife because the snake got hurt by the knife. So as the snake was wrapping itself around the knife, the snake said to himself, I'm going to show this knife something. I'm going to show this knife that I'm nothing to mess with. You need to mess with somebody else. I'm not the one. You better go talk to somebody, mama or somebody, daddy. You don't know I'm a snake. I'm going to squeeze you to death. But the more the snake squeezed, the more the snake started hurting himself. So eventually, right, the snake put a little extra squeeze on it, and the snake started dying because it started squeezing because it got cut by the knife. This is what happened. The snake got cut by the knife, so eventually the snake died. The snake did not know that, hey man, had I just got cut and went about my business from the initial cut and not try to give me some give back, the snake still would have been alive. I still would have been alive had I not squeezed this knife to my death. So a lot of times we get hurt by something and we always want to retaliate. We always want to squeeze something. We always want to hold on to something. And that will lead you to your death. That will lead you to a bad position. The snake died for squeezing a knife. The snake got cut by the knife. Instead of the snake just going about their business, the snake was like, you know what? I'm going to get you back. Started squeezing the knife until the snake died. Right? And when the snake died, that was the end of the snake. And what happens is, the snake didn't have enough self-control to say, you know what? I got cut by this knife. I'm going to move around. Instead of moving around, the snake was like, you know what? I got to give me some give back. I got to jump on you because you cut me. And a lot of times, this is what we do. Instead of us moving around, we wrap our arms around that knife. We wrap our arms around those drugs. We wrap our arms around those people that said that they was going to hold us down, but they're not going to hold us down. We wrap our arms around those family members that be lying to us constantly. We wrap our arms around our own kids that don't mean us no good, that's trying to use us. We wrap our arms around that person at your job that talks about you behind your back. We wrap our arms around negativity. We wrap our arms around our own selfish gains. We wrap our arms around so many different things. And the key to that is being able to have some self-control to let it go. Being able to have some self-control to say, you know what? I got cut, I'm bleeding now, I'm going to put a Band-Aid on and keep it moving. Being able to say to yourself, you know what? This happened to me. He did beat me up. He smacked me a long time ago, but I forgive him. You know what? She did steal my money from me, but I forgive you. I'm just going to keep on moving instead of saying that you stole my money. And then anytime anybody looks like a thief, you're looking at them like, oh, I'm reminded of the person that stole my money. Or anytime anybody's smoking dope, you're looking at the person like, oh, you smoke dope just like my mother. My mother smoked dope too. My mother died smoking dope. And so you're still wrapping your arms around that knife. You're still wrapping your body around that knife. You're wrapping your mind around that knife. You're wrapping your whole thoughts around whatever you're dealing with. We ought to have self-control and to let it go. All right. So, well, how do I start getting self-control? I'm going to give it to you tonight. How do I start doing self-control? How do I start looking at myself and say to myself, I don't want to do that. The snake did not have self-control. And it was his death. The snake did not have self-control. When you don't have self-control, you don't make too many friends. Some people don't even care about making friends. I get it. But when you don't have self-control, you get into trouble. When you don't have self-control, you spend all the rent money talking about, I'm going to re-up. When you don't have self-control, you go to the bar and drink a lot. And say, you know what, I'm going to make this money back on next Friday. Friday coming again. It's hump day. I could go to the bar and use all my money and I'm going to get paid on Friday. I need to borrow $10 from you, Sister D. Oh, I ain't got it because I got drunk last night. When you don't practice self-control, you can't help anybody out. When you don't practice self-control, you can't help yourself out. When you don't practice self-control is not only just words. Self-control is your body language. Mm-hmm. Somebody say something to you, you be like, where's your self-control at? That's very disrespectful to somebody. Like, you don't really care. You don't really get it there. When you practice self-control, then you are more aware of what's going on. When you don't practice self-control, things get out of control. You're like, man, I had an eye on that, but you got sidetracked. And sidetracked means that you had something else, you started squeezing. Right? Self-control means controlling your emotions, controlling your desires, controlling the way you move, the way you look, the way you eat, the way you feel. That's what self-control is. So it is really, really important for us to get self-control. How do we get self-control? We get self-control in trusting. First, you gotta trust. You gotta trust God. You have to trust yourself. You have to say to yourself, I gotta trust somebody or something. I gotta trust in God. I have to trust in myself in order to have self-control. Because if you don't trust somebody, you're not going to have self-control. You like, they say something, you be like, yeah, okay, whatever, man. I'm not even listening to you. Because you don't have any trust in it. How am I supposed to have self-control when you're disrespecting me? A lot of people say, I'm going to go off. I lose all of my self-control when I'm disrespected. That's something that God has to work out of me. Because I lose all of my self-control, Sister Millie, when I'm being disrespected. When I'm being disrespected, all the self-control is out the window. But I'm trusting God. I'm trusting God, saying, God, they just disrespected me, God. I want to go off. I want to smack fire out the person. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I start counting. I'm trusting God so it could be a little bit of time in between, a little buffering time. You know when your phone is buffering, you're trying to get some internet service and you just have time to think about something else? You know when that internet is start building up and the numbers start going up and it gets stuck at like 33 or 34 and then it start buffering a little bit more and then it goes straight to 70 something. That time is time that some of us need. Some of us might need that time. They say, you know what? Okay. All right. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to let this one go to naked this time. Self-control. Some of us don't have self-control with the words that come out of our mouth. Some of us just feel like I can just say anything to you because you've been my friend for 20 years. Excuse me? I don't care if I've been your friend for 30 years. You better have some kind of self-control. If you don't have self-control, then you find yourself disrespecting others. If you don't have self-control, you find yourself making poor decisions or having poor habits. That's what you find yourself doing. Self-control. Sister Jessica, what do you find yourself losing self-control with?
I lose self-control whenever I should not drink so much coffee when I drink like 10 cups.
Okay. All right. Sister D, what do you find yourself losing self-control with?
When I lose something.
When you lose something. Okay.
Yeah, I can't. When I lose something, I just lose it. Like, I can't find it. I know it's around here somewhere. I know it just. I did, that's,
Right,
I start
right.
making mess, and then, go through the things, and then I'm like, oh, and then I have to pick that up, and that's, I'm like, I just can't do it. I just can't do it.
Gotcha, Sister Letty. What do you find yourself losing control with?
I say my emotions,
Mm-hmm.
like when something bad happens, like at a certain time, like it still hits you, you know what I mean? Like,
Gotcha with your emotions, okay. Sister J, what do you find yourself losing self-control with?
emotions as well.
Your emotions as well? Alright, so, the Bible is going to tell us exactly what we can do for when we're losing self-control. When we don't have self-control with something. Because I lose my self-control too. I lose control, and I'm like, man, you didn't have to do all of that after the fact. But some of us, we lose self-control, and there's no coming back. The snake cannot come back from squeezing that I lost I'm looking for this. Like Sister D said, I'm looking for this. Where is this? Well, sometimes you can't come back from that. Sometimes you cannot come back from your emotions and your feelings. Go right ahead. Say again?
Things that you do.
Yes, things that you do, right. Sometimes you can't come back from it. So those of you that are watching, what do you lose self-control with? What do you need to keep control with? So if I can ask everybody to open up your Bibles to 2 Peter. Let's see what 2 Peter says. 2 Peter is the 1st chapter, and we're going to the 5th verse. Because I want to know, what can I do so I can control my emotions? What can I do? What can I do to control my emotions? What can I do? What does the Bible say about me controlling my emotions and controlling my feelings and controlling my attitude and controlling how much I eat and controlling how lazy, how much I sleep? Because some of us say, I just need my rest. No, you don't need your rest. You're just being lazy. 2 Peter, the 1st chapter, and we're going to start at the 5th verse. 2 Peter is in the New Testament. Those of you that are watching, please, if you can open up your Bibles, because we all need to deal with some kind of self-control. 2 Peter, the 1st chapter and the 5th verse. Y'all take your time. This is still Bible study.